All right, we've talked a lot, and we're going to talk even more about guys that the Texans could bring in. Should they draft this guy? Should they trade for this guy? What about this guy? Would you be interested in this guy? We got plenty of time for that. We're less than 2 weeks away from the combine. We'll be live there. Free agency begins a month from yesterday, so we got a lot of time to add players. But today on SNL, Landry Locker, Cody Stoots with you. Subscribe on all podcast platforms and subscribe right here on YouTube. Few thousand deep in about a couple of months, and we will be live at the combine. We're going to talk about who on this current roster could be saved. Who could be saved? Who are we dismissing that maybe Nick Caley could revive? Guys that the fan base probably isn't too overly excited about on the offensive side of the rock, that maybe with a little bit of Nick Caley dust, with a little bit of coaching, how much you're buying if these guys could thrive?
We've kind of talked a little bit about this with the coaching staff and some of the guys that they seem to be ready to keep. And there's no official coaching staff announcement yet, although basically every other team has officially announced their coaching staff. So there's no official coaching staff announcement just yet. But with the coaches, okay, there's only so much that Nick Caley could do, but fixing things for these players, man, it could go a very long way. And if you could get some guys playing way better than they did last year, that'd save you a lot of worry about having to go and find their replacements or find players better than them or having guys ready behind them because you know they're going to play, stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is some of them you don't really have a choice because they're going to be on the roster no matter what, including the first one, which brings us to the first one. Play along in the chat as well. Supers go to the front. The Dalton Schultz project. Are you buying Nick Caley perhaps reviving Dalton Schultz and making him a productive player?
I am buying this, and there's two reasons why I'm buying it. One is Nick Caley centric, and one is Dalton Schultz centric. The Dalton Schultz one is simple. This is basically a contract year for Dalton Schultz. If he doesn't perform well, he's getting cut. See you later, and you head into free agency with a really crappy 2 years under your belt. If you're Dalton Schultz and you perform pretty well, hey, maybe I could negotiate a little bit of a contract extension, lower my cap hit, yada, yada. Dalton Schultz contract years, he's been pretty good, and it's essentially a contract year for Dalton Schultz. The Nick Caley aspect of this, he's one of the better tight end coaches in football. That's what an executive told Will Kunkel, and even if he's not one of the best, he's coached tight ends for a long time. Hopefully he knows how to better use Dalton Schultz. Hopefully they'll have somebody that can block him. They don't use Dalton Schultz for that. I just trust Nick Caley is going to be able to use Schultz for what he actually can do and not ask him to do a whole bunch of what he can't do.
You said Will Kunkel got told what?
Will Kunkel talked to an NFL executive, and they said Caley's the best tight ends coach in football.
Like what kind of executive? Like a GM?
That's a question for Will Kunkel, not a question for me.
Like an assistant? Is this like someone who talked to a scout and the scout said,
I don't know the answer to that.
I talked to an NFL executive and they said, what? What was the quote again from Kunkel?
He was the best tight ends coach in football.
Okay. Well, that's encouraging to hear, and that's definitely his specialty. I think the Dalton Schultz thing, I actually have hope for this. So I'm actually kind of buying this, and I'm buying him being a productive member of the team. Now, I'm dismissing the contract. I don't think there's any chance in hell that you look at Dalton Schultz's contract and you say, okay, that was valid. But I think as far as what Nick Caley has to work with, much like when Caserio walked into his situation, you know, they had $50 million in dead cap. They had limited draft equity, and he kind of had to make what he had to make with what he had to work with. I think less is more with Dalton Schultz. Don't ask him to block would be nice as much and maximize his skill set and maybe get some other tight ends around him. I think you still proactively, if the opportunity presents itself, you find yourself a TE1 or a complimentary guy. But I'm buying the Dalton Schultz project in that I think he's going to be a much more still overpriced.
That's not changing.
Yeah, but much more productive player, and I think he can be a winning piece. I can't say that about everyone as we go down this list, but I think Dalton Schultz can still be a productive football player that people still hate because he makes all the money that he makes. But I think he can have a better year next year than he did this year, and not be put in as many bad situations as he was put in by the previous regime on offense.
Unfortunately, they don't have a choice with him. He's going to be on the team. The contract dictates that. So he's just got to be better. And hopefully, as Will Kunkel spoke to front office people, wow, I thought it was NFL executive. Instead, it's front office people. This could be anybody. Best tight end coach in the league, though. That's what Kunkel said when he asked about Nick Caley.
Okay.
So.
Spoke to a few NFL front office people, huh? Okay.
Yep. All right. I thought it was NFL executive. I got it wrong.
Who knows who Kunkel's front office people. Okay. I'm going to dismiss that.
You know what? I just won't bring those up anymore because you shoot all of them down. No, that's fine.
No, come on.
That's fine. We don't have to worry about it. What's the next project? Let's go. Next episode on HGTV of Fixing the Texans.
Let me see this one more time.
No, that's fine. We're going to stop screen
NFL
sharing. Oh, man. Oh, look, it's gone. That's crazy. Next episode. I pressed next on YouTube TV to my next DVR episode of Fix the Texans. Let's go. Yes, button. I need hello. I need new buttons here. I need a new battery. Let's go. Next episode.
I spoke to someone in the organization and they said, I'm Will Kunkel. I spoke to multiple front office guys and they told me this is the best tight end coach.
Your beef is with Kunkel, not with me.
All right. Well, John Metchie project. Where are you at there? How do you feel about the John Metchie project? This is going to be year 4. Year 1, obviously, there were bigger things that John Metchie had to worry about. But the John Metchie project, reviving John Metchie, making him a productive football player. How do we feel about this?
I don't believe that this is going to occur. I believe that the knee injury combined with the cancer diagnosis, it just sapped anything that John Metchie had as far as potential. And he's just not ever going to turn into a consistent, good enough football player that you can rely on. Because what you're looking for maybe it's not every single guy when it gets to training camp, but when you get down to the 5 or 6 guys you're keeping in the wide receiver room, can you rely on that guy? And you cannot rely on John Metchie. The inconsistencies from his ability to get open, the inconsistencies with catching the football, you can't rely on John Metchie. If he proves me wrong in training camp, so be it, but I don't have high hopes for this one.
Yeah, and I think that the John Metchie project, I'm with you. I mean, I think if you can find an undrafted free agent, if you can find someone in free agency, you can move on from this. I think you can find guys that can be more productive from a receiver standpoint. I think you can find guys who can give you more if they're not necessarily the top 3 or 4 wide receivers on your team. There was a reason that fake punt where John Metchie had the tackle that, I think the average scout teamer could have made. There's a reason they got overly excited. I think they've kind of been rooting for Metchie themselves, and they've given him every single opportunity. But I don't see this John Metchie thing really playing out. And if it does play out, I think we're talking about the 5th. If they have a decent receiver room, we're talking about the 5th or 6th receiver. And I just think it's probably time to move on from that.
He doesn't have, there's not a skill that you point to that Metchie's got where you're like, okay, I can at least bet on that aspect of it. He's not super fast. He's not reliable with his hands. He's not this incredible, amazing route runner. There's just not a lot that you can point to and say, this is going to be a lot better with a better offense. Maybe CJ Stroud has a little bit more time and guys can get open and he can be the last read. But as far as relying on him, because again, he's going to be your 5th, your 6th wide receiver. He's not starting. He's a guy that gets put in when somebody else is out. That makes the reliability even more important. You just haven't been able to rely on him. You can't rely on him.
Bye-bye. Or just no hope. We can be wrong. Just no hope. I think we agree on that. This guy, I think, kind of gets a free pass because there's so much crap going on around him. And at this point, I think a lot of the crap around him we've kind of dismissed. But it's time for this guy to either show something or else he's just going to be lumped in with the crap that's been around him that he's been able to kind of avoid criticism of. And that's the Juice Scruggs project. Is Juice Scruggs, is he a good center? Is he a good guard? Or is he just like a reserve that you took in the 2nd round? That's just a guy. It's time. The Kenyon Green thing we can get into in a second, the Tytus Howard at tackle thing, the Shaq Mason stuff. At this point, I don't think you've lost hope, But I think the concern is more front and center with Juice Scruggs than it has been. And they're going to have to fix that. Can they? Do you have any confidence in it?
I don't have a lot of confidence in Juice Scruggs, mainly because I don't trust Juice Scruggs' body to hold up under what he's going to be tasked to do. He missed 10 games his rookie season. He missed 4 games last year. He's missed 14 and played 20. And yeah, you could add in the playoff games, and so that pushes the played games up a little bit more. But it hasn't wowed me at any point. He got a little bit better at different points, and then he'd take a dip back. And they ultimately went with Jarrett Patterson, and Patterson outplayed him at center both years. Like Patterson was better at center his rookie year than Scruggs was, and Patterson was better at center this past year. So I don't have a lot of faith in Juice Scruggs bouncing back. This is a guy that if he turns into a reliable backup, I know that's not what you drafted him to do, but that could be his role on this team. But what's given me any sort of hope that Juice is going to be, if he stays healthy, okay, sure. It's not like it's been great when he's been healthy.
Yeah, I look at it as somewhat Kenyon Green like, if we're being honest. It wasn't, but I mean, you don't look at it that way, because with Kenyon, like, you could look at it and you could say, damn, they could have had this guy. They could have had Kyle Hamilton. Damn, they could have had Tyler Linderbaum. But with Juice, it just kind of it's just kind of been there, and he's had so much bad around him that you don't really focus on it. I'm not completely dismissing it. I just don't know what it looks like. Like, I don't know what it looks like. Like, does Juice Scruggs play his way into being a really, really good right guard? I don't know. Is he going to just be this unquestioned center against Patterson? You got to kind of wonder about that too. So I'm not dismissing it. I don't think we're going to look at this guy as like the center for the future for like 10 years or anything like that. But as far as being a productive football player, I'm kind of on the fence. I'm not dismissing it. I just can't really tell you what it looks like. I mean, because I quite frankly, when I hear Nick Caserio say he's clearly better at center, I don't know. I don't know what they think. And I don't know what Nick Caley's going to think. I was very surprised that Nick Caserio acted like there was just like some sort of wide gap between his center play and his guard play. So that really confused me and kind of effed my mind up with the whole Juice Scruggs thing.
If they add a veteran right guard, I don't know where his spot is. I guess it's battling Jarrett Patterson for the center spot. But if they add a free agent right guard, that guy's going to start at right guard. And then it's Juice Scruggs versus Jarrett Patterson for the center spot. And I suppose Juice Scruggs versus Tytus Howard for the left guard spot. And that's kind of where that settles. If they don't add a veteran and they're betting on Scruggs being the right guard, it's one hell of a wager. It's like going to the gas station and trying to pay your rent with what you win on the scratch offs.
I will say I do agree with you though. Like, I know it's not fun to look at draft picks that way, but I mean, if he develops into your good, swing guard / center type of joint, like at this point, I don't know that I'm going to consider it. Might be a success based on expectational adjustments, but I don't think it would be the worst thing. The worst case scenario seems as likely as that, to be honest with you.
So Juice is a likely Juice outcome for 2025 is he's this year's Kenyon Green, where he's just the backup for everything.
He hadn't been that bad. He hadn't been good, but he hadn't been that bad. There's been some moments though. There's definitely been some moments.
So like if he's super Kenyon Green, and they have a veteran right guard that they get in free agency and everything else on the offensive line sorts out, like that's okay for Juice.
That's fine. Sure, whatever.
Just don't be a negative. Don't be a zero. Don't have to be a guy that gets replaced. Like,
yeah.
I guess the best case scenario is he just outplays Patterson. He's the center.
That'd be cool. Texan says, what if the players we have are ballers and they only suck because of Butterbean? That's what we called Bobby Slowick because he wears down. Can I get a damn it, Bobby, for old time's sake? Yes, you can.
Damn it, Bobby.
You can get 2.
Damn it, Bobby.
Yeah, there you go. That would be awesome. If Bobby Slowick was just holding these guys back, that would be very, very encouraging.
That's kind of the part of the whole discussion here with some of these guys.
All right, next one. We've brought him up a couple of times. I'm going to let you finish your drink because I know you're going to be pretty quick to this one. The Kenyon Green project.
Here's what you need to do with Kenyon Green.
Uh-oh.
You got to take Kenyon Green and you got to scour every roster in the NFL, and you got to go find that team's Kenyon Green player
At a different position.
And then you got to call them and you got to say, that guy hadn't quite worked out for you. This guy hadn't quite worked out for us. Let's swap them. And let's just see. Let's get them into training camp, and let's just see if maybe it didn't work. One working for you, one working for us. Like, let's just swap them and see. You know, that's what you do with Kenyon Green, or you just get rid of his ass.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I do wonder how many times in our lives, and I'm sure it's happened a lot. Actually, I bet you it's happened a crap ton. I might actually, let's just do this exercise. I'm not even answering this bullshit. Like if he's a backup guard on this team, cool. It's almost makes me think less of Kenyon Green with answering this question, and allow me to explain myself on this. It almost makes me like eliminate this possibility more with Kenyon Green, because at this point I feel like he's done everything professionally to like give himself a chance. Mm-hmm. Like, in other words, like he's a great accountable young man. Shout out to his pops and everything. He's more accountable than the veterans that are older than him, if we're being honest. Mm-hmm. Like, so he's got the maturity. He seems like he works his ass off. Like, when he was injured, I did not see him in the building every time. He appears to have attacked his body a little bit differently, and he still sucked this year. So if you would have told me that Kenyon Green was like lazy and immature and stupid, and maybe there's like some new person that's going to come into this facility and try to revive him in a crazy ass way, like I would almost like have more faith in it. But I feel like he's like done everything that he can, and I think that's part of why they like him. You know, like I can't explain Shaq Mason being able to come in overweight and still be one of their favorites, especially as a veteran. I can't explain that. Maybe it's just because he's been there a while and they don't feel like they have better options or whatever, and they kind of lean veteran. But I can understand why they root for Kenyon Green and why they like Kenyon Green. Like, it's not hard to see. And in a crazy way, like you would like to say, well, he does that, so he's going to be able to figure this out. But it almost feels like I don't know what more can happen with him. You know, there's not like anything to say, okay, all of a sudden it's going to click with him.
Well, what you laid out is the perfect reason for Nick Caserio to call somebody and trade him. Is it for whatever reason, guys, it hasn't worked here. Maybe it works for you guys, and then you give us, you know, your version of Kenyon Green. It's worth noting the Texans save $3 million-ish bucks, a little under $3 million bucks if they trade him. If they release him, they save nothing. So the other thing trading him is preferred.
And the good thing is, like, I root for this guy. Like, I'm rooting for him. I'm not going to say he's good, and I'm not going to like defend him if he's playing like crap. But
you're not going to tell me to go watch the tape.
No, but I mean, you have eyes. You don't need the tape on. Sometimes, but maybe it's just as simple as, hey, he's in his hometown. There's a lot of pressure. He's been through multiple regimes, and maybe he just needs a change of scenery. And he just needs to get out of that building to be able to like put together some kind of career. And I'm rooting for that. I'm rooting for it. But I don't, as far as the Kenyon Green like reclamation project, I'm not buying it.
Sending him as far away from Houston as you can. Congratulations, Kenyon Green. You've been traded to the Seahawks.
Yeah, because like with Deontay, rest in peace, Day. With Deontay Foreman, it was like, I mean, his dad was, I loved his dad, did talk to him. Like he was in studio. Like he was a knucklehead. Like he was a knucklehead, like in a different way than his pops. His pops was a fool with it, like crazy. Kenyon Green's not that. Like, it's not like he's like distracted. I don't know what Kenyon Green does or doesn't do. So I don't know. Maybe he just needs to get out and find a change of scenery, which happens, man. Sometimes that just happens.
I'd be happy for him to bounce back. I just don't want that to be a project here in Houston.
Yeah, I think that's kind of sailed. Sean James on the soup. Who's more likely to get traded this offseason, Metchie or Kenyon? I would say you could trade either. I mean, I think these there could be organizations that are intrigued by either one of them. I would probably lean.
I'd lean Kenyon because he's a former first round pick, and some GM somewhere is gonna be like, he was a first round pick for a reason.
Yeah, I could lean Kenyon, I would say.
I believe
I could see both of them being traded, to be honest with you.
I believe Metchie has Mark Ingram value on the trade market. So literally 7th rounder, 2 years out. So if that's what you want to trade him for, go for it.
So I was going back to at the start of the Kenyon Green thing, and I was saying that we've probably done this before. So I kind of want to pay that off. Like, how many times has there been like a guy who was drafted early? It's been a few years. He gets traded to the Texans, and you kind of convince yourself, okay, well, maybe there could be something here. And like somewhere else, there's like a fan base saying, "You kidding, Anthony Miller? You kidding me?" Like, remember when Miller was here from the Bears?
Oh,
yeah, Miller, Deontay. Although he was on multiple teams, Deontay Johnson.
Dude, it's training camp last year. We weren't thinking about either of those guys for starting spots, but it was CJ Henderson and Jeff Okudah for cornerback 3.
Yes. And Okudah was on multiple teams too. They both
Barnett
were when was Barnett drafted?
Barnett, I definitely felt like, oh, okay, like there's still something here.
Yeah, he was drafted pretty early.
He was a first rounder.
Yeah.
I think he was 14th overall.
Yeah.
14th overall pick in 2017.
Man.
And had played that style of defense too.
I don't think we've come like further along than where the cornerback position is now, where last year we're like just like reviving, and you feel like you drafted like a nickelback, and that got eliminated very quickly because we went to camp, and I remember the first thing that we said as soon as we walked in after the stretching and stuff, you and I were sitting off to the side, and we were like, well, it kind of happened in mini camp, but I don't think
day 2 of OTAs, they put him outside.
Yeah, I don't think you put as much into it though. Like, you acknowledged it, but you were kind of keeping a close eye, and it was like, damn, Lassiter's like cornerback 2. Like, this is not. This is
letting him line up on Diggs. Okay, let's see this.
Yeah, there was no like for all the talk about like there's no competition on the O line. Like, he was immediately Gary and Conley. Jamarcus brings that one. God, 3rd round pick for Gary and Conley. Remember that? Remember when Duke Johnson? Man, Bill O'Brien, he just thought 3rd round picks were like just nothing.
Duke Johnson, Miami football's all-time leading rusher.
Duke Johnson, Gary and Conley. Oh, that was a toughie.
Duke Johnson, I mean, he'd been on a few different, or he'd been a big disappointment in Cleveland.
Yeah.
And then he gets to Houston. It's like, okay, he's still not very good. And then he bounced around for like a couple more years, and that was it.
All right. Guard Tytus Howard project. We're going through potential reclamations. Guard Tytus Howard project. This is a little bit different. It's kind of got a little bit of this is almost like a goulash of shit. It's like you got like a little bit of Dalton Schultz feel here, and you got a little bit of Kenyon Green, Juice Scruggs feel. This is almost like a mixture of both of those.
What's a goulash?
Goulash is like a casserole where you basically just throw everything in it. You never had goulash? Goulash is basically like you're just like in the kitchen, you're acting reckless, and you're making stuff. Different people make it different ways, but it's basically just like you're in the kitchen and you're making like, throw the chicken in there, throw the onion in there, throw this in there. Goulash.
Oh, okay. Goulash.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you said something else. I was like, what is goulash?
I probably said it wrong. I called it goulash, but goulash. Yeah.
Goulash. Okay, I got you. Yeah, no, there's a lot going on here because I don't know that anybody outside the Texans felt like that was a good contract for Tytus Howard when they signed him to the extended contract. And the results have not lived up to the amount of money that they've paid him. And he went from, I'm only a right tackle, to, well, I'll do whatever I need to do to help the team. Well, the left guard Tytus Howard project is really the only version of Tytus Howard I'm interested in. If he's not interested in that, then find a suitor and put him on another team and let him go play tackle somewhere else. But that's really the only version of Tytus Howard that I'm interested in watching in 2025. And do I have high hopes for it? No, not really. But that's the only version of Tytus Howard that I'm interested in watching in this upcoming season.
I go back to the NFL draft 2018, and I actually walked out of the press conference because I was so disgusted. Because my big rant leading up to that draft was, if they draft an offensive lineman, I don't want to hear the word versatility. I really don't. I'm tired of this versatility crap. Tell me that this guy can do one thing well. I don't want to hear about versatility. I really 2019, excuse me. Yeah, 2018, they didn't have a first-round pick because they traded for us. 2019, Brian Gaines draft. So Brian Gaines goes up there, first answer, and walked right out. He said that they asked him what position Tytus was. He said, he's an offensive lineman. And I just walked out. I was like, all right, I don't have time for this crap. So I kind of feel like that's what Tytus Howard is now. I think he's a versatile offensive lineman that can play a lot of positions, maybe not any of them great. It's overpriced, but it can do a lot of things. Like Tytus Howard is basically he's basically a cheap ass Swiss Army knife that you buy at Buc-ee's as you're checking out. Like he's it probably should be a $5 Swiss Army knife, but because it has a Buc-ee's logo on it, it's $20. And people buy it anyway, and you're stuck with it. So that's basically what I look at as Tytus Howard. He's a versatile, overpaid lineman. That's all I look at it. I would be fine if he was a backup in a perfect world, and then you can move on from him after this year. But you're kind of stuck with him like Schultz and like Juice Scruggs and Kenyon Green. He's not really good at what he does. So he's like, when I said he's a goulash of everything, he's basically just a mix of every single project that we've talked about all in one.
You save less than $2 million and you eat $21 million on dead cap if you release him. You save less than $4 million and you still eat close to $20 million in dead cap if you trade him. Tell you what would be real nice here is if he got the camp, it wasn't clicking for him at guard. Fisher's got it settled over there at tackle, and they found some team that wanted Tytus Howard, and they traded Tytus Howard in camp. Some teams' tackle went down, and they're able to trade Tytus Howard in camp. Financially, that's a lot easier to do. It saves you a couple bucks, lets you spread out the dead cap hit over a couple of seasons, and that would be, to me, one of those things where if you don't want Tytus Howard on the team, the best outcome would be some team loses their right tackle. They call the Texans. They give you something for him. You get a little bit of cap savings, and you get him out of there. And you have Fisher at right tackle, and you got a new left guard, a new right guard, and you're going to battle with that.
The other thing that I think kind of needs to happen with Tytus, and I agree with your scenario, is it would be really nice, and I think it's kind of happening, where because Tytus was here in 18 or in 19, and then 20, 21, 22 happened, it almost felt like he thought he was like, I don't know, like awesome. I don't know how to describe it. Like just really good or something. And he was like one of the vets or whatever. It does feel like in the last 2 years, there's kind of been a little bit of a locker room shift where there's like guys who are kind of like the alphas and the guys that you go to that can actually play. So it kind of feels like there is like a humility to Tytus Howard that there wasn't. And you mentioned it, not just a right tackle. And now no Twitter, and he's willing to do whatever. So there has been kind of a little bit of a natural humbling there too.
Yeah. And I don't know if that makes him a better football player or makes him a worse football player.
Probably not.
But that is something that definitely happened. And could he come in and be a serviceable left guard? Like, I don't want to rule that out. But again, it's how you operate in the offseason and what you plan for. Like, if that's the plan, it feels like a risky plan.
Someone said, I'll take your Gary and Conley and I'll raise you an Aaron Colvin. Aaron Colvin was good in Jacksonville, though. Like, he was a good slot corner. They tried to turn him into a starter.
Well, and he was
and that did not work.
And he was a free agent signing too.
Yeah. Well, but what about Barcavius Mingo? Your guy.
Definitely not my guy. You talked about him more than I did.
Your boy.
You were an honorary Rock Boy.
Yeah, right. That was the worst bit in the history of football.
You want some breaking news here?
I do.
Thursday at 1 p.m., new offensive coordinator Nick Caley will be introduced to the media. D'Amico Ryans and Nick Caley will speak in the team auditorium.
Okay. See you there.
So Thursday at 1 p.m.
See you there.
All right. There we go.
There we go. Press conference.
New offensive coordinator gets a press conference.
We'll get to react to it Thursday at 4.
Thursday at 4. We'll be here.
I've never heard him talk.
I haven't either.
Seen some bits and pieces. So
the Athletic Football Show guys say that he feels like McVay when you talk to him.
What does that mean?
He's like the same energy and like kind of like the same energy and passion and cadence, and they talk about football the same way.
Okay. We'll see.
You know what? I'm not bringing anything up on the show anymore.
Oh,
Dismissal, how dismissive you are about things.
I said we'll see. We'll see is the opposite of dismissal.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see how many things I reference from here on out.
We'll see. We'll see. Don't be shy.
Yeah, hold on. Next episode.
The Dameon Pierce project. Dameon Pierce. You buying it? You selling it? How do we feel about that?
If you tell me Dameon Pierce is going to be a part of the running back room, I could believe it. I just don't want Dameon Pierce to be running back 2. Like, he can't be handed the running back 2 opportunity like he was last year. They didn't have anybody in camp to compete for running back 2 with Dameon Pierce, a guy who had an injury history and an inability to pick the system up in the first year, and he was handed running back 2. That can't be the case this year. They've got to have somebody in camp that pushes him or maybe even starts ahead of him. And then he's got to battle for running back 3, running back 4, however many they end up keeping. He's got to battle for that position. It can't be handed to him again. That was another non-competitive depth chart situation for the Texans.
Correct. I think he can be on your football team. Make him your kick returner / 3 or 4 wide receiver. Like, and improve the running back room. You can get 3 running backs on your roster better than Dameon Pierce, and he can still be a productive member of your football team. Make him one of the special teams guys. He's done a good job at kick returner. He can be there, but I'm selling some notion that he's all of a sudden going to be a productive RB2. I think you can do better than that. I think you can get someone more versatile, and I think that this draft provides a lot of opportunities. Notice I said S. I want multiple backs in this draft to put in with Joe Mixon, and then there might be a time where Dameon Pierce gets his opportunity and he's able to figure it out. So yeah, I think that I don't think Dameon Pierce is like just a bye-bye. I think he can still help your team, even if he's not what they've thought he was going to do. All right, so I have a challenge for you here before we get to the final one. Are you in or not?
I said okay. What do you got?
All right, so let's play paper, rock, scissors, 2 out of 3. Loser has to, because my phone was going crazy. I guess that Texans PR sent to the group chat that Nick Caley is speaking. Loser has to reply all and say thank y'all so much.
No, I'm not doing this.
I'm
vehemently against.
Then win.
I'm vehemently against.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people who have replied all to a 20-person media text message.
Nope.
Cody,
I'm not sacrificing
paper, rock, scissors.
I'm not sacrificing my text message decency over paper, rock, scissors.
Yes. And Gilly says group chat flexed on us. It's not a group chat. That's the whole point.
It's an information.
It's literally. No, this is not a group chat. I promise you. I'm in group chats. This is not a group chat. This is the opposite of a flex. This is PR sends to the media that something's happening. And for some reason, there's a lot of reply alls. And it just sets off the phone. It is not a group chat, my friend. All right, ready?
I'm not doing this. I'm against this.
Well, then
I'm against
win.
this. No,
Well,
I'm
then
not
win.
doing this. I'm not doing this.
I'm more against it than you. I'm trying
I'm
to do
not
it for the people.
sacrificing my text message decency.
I'm trying to do it for the people. Come on.
I'm
2
not
out of 3.
sacrificing my text message. What's the exact wording of the text?
Thank you so much, guys.
How about thank you all so much?
No, thank you so much, guys.
I'm not doing that. Nope. I'm not doing it. I'm not competing.
And if it's a sweep, then it has to be thank you so much, guys. We're lucky to have y'all.
No, I'm not. I'm out. I'm not even stepping into the arena on this one. I'm not even stepping into the arena. No, thank you. No, thank you. I'm not sacrificing my text message decency. I'm not sacrificing my text message decency on a couple of paper, rock, scissors. Yep.
Y'all all know like the reply all in the office, like this, like what's going on here?
If there's a reason to reply all, be my guest. There's no reason to respond to this.
Yeah, and
Like-
it's not rude to not respond. It's ruder to respond.
You're going to get an email later with all the information that the text message has too.
But the thing is, like, it's like about rude instincts. Like it's more rude to reply all than it is to not. Like if you send me something and you say, hey, blah, 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 it's rude to not reply. But if it's to 20 people just so they have the information, there's another one. Boom. Someone just said, thank you. May we live stream it. What is that? That's got to be a news guy, right?
I have no idea who it is. I don't have everybody's number saved.
I don't have that number saved. There's a thank you, much appreciated. There's a THX. There's a thank you, Omar. There's a thank you. There's a thanks, 3 exclamation marks. There's a thank you. There's an awesome thanks. And now there's a thank you. May we live stream it, which means it's going to vibrate again.
Hopefully there will be a response individually to that person that asked the question.
All right. So 2 out of 3. Ready?
I am not doing this. Not doing this. The embarrassment is not
Get
worth
Kunkel. Hey, get Kunkel in here. Send him the link. Is he at home?
it. I have no idea what.
No,
Kunkel
tell him
is
I'm
doing.
challenging him. Kunkel, I'm challenging your ass. I'm challenging your ass to come up here for a. I'm going to call him on speaker right now. Hold on just a sec.
Oh, you're gonna call him? This
All right,
is
hold
funny.
on.
To Rich boy.
Oh, this will be good.
Hey, don't cuss, okay?
Oh, what?
Don't cuss. You're on speaker, and we're like 300 deep on the stream. But I'm challenging you to something. Cody won't accept, and I think it's gutless. And I'm seeing if you'll come on the stream right now and accept this challenge.
Okay. What is it?
So it's 2 out of 3 paper, rock, scissors. The loser has to reply all to the media group chat and say, thank y'all so much if they lose. But if you get swept, you have to say, thank y'all so much, comma, we're lucky to have y'all, exclamation mark.
Can we up the bet?
And do what?
Say, thank you. I'll be there. I'd like a salad.
All right, I'm out of here later. Oh my God.
Will food be served?
All right.
No, I'm not doing that.
So he's not down to it. So there you go. All right.
I was afraid Kunkel was going to let his potty mouth fly when you called him on the phone.
That's why I said don't cuss. You gotta let him know.
It sent us into editorial craziness.
All right, swarm in the soup.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Tytus Howard sucks. He also stripped the QB. Man, that was a weird time. I had forgotten about that. And then they said he didn't. He was trying to be a hero, and then they said that he wasn't. That was crazy. That was wild. That was a wild time.
Yeah.
Those days are behind me. I try to forget about that. All right, next.
Oh, we have one more. We have one more on the episode of Rebuild the Texans with featuring Nick Caley.
One more. The Xavier Hutchinson project. I'm buying this. as a fifth or sixth receiver. Like, I think there's been it's been a weird time for Xavier Hutchinson where it's not like John Metchie where you drafted him in the second round and it's like, you got to see something, you got to see something, you want to see something, you want to see something. And there's a lot of hype like anytime he does anything. This guy was a day 3 pick. I do feel like he's actually gotten better. And if he develops into like your fifth or sixth receiver that you can count on in his third year where he still has 2 years to develop, I'm not dismissing Xavier Hutchinson. I think that would be very harsh. Like, I don't have the same expectations for Xavier Hutchinson that I do Juice Scruggs.
As 5'6", I'm all about it. I'm all about it. Can he go into camp and beat out a bunch of other guys and end up as the 5th, 6th wide receiver for this team? Absolutely. It's when he starts getting higher on the depth chart, or he's a guy that they, feel like they need to start getting him the ball or rely on. That's where I'm like, I don't know if this is going to work out here.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, he can be fine. We'll see. Like if we were talking about him being like the number 3 or something, I think that would be unfair, but realistic expectations, I'm good on that.
Yeah. I mean, it is very realistic that Xavier Hutchinson is the 5th or 6th wide receiver. Very realistic. It's very unrealistic if you're putting him higher on the depth chart.
I want to ask this question.
Am I going to want to answer it?
Probably.
Okay.
Are we still doing this kickoff thing that the NFL did? Can we stop?
Did they gotta go back to the old thing, right?
Yeah. Are we going to go back to that? Have we decided that was the biggest disappointment and trash of the season? It sucked.
I don't like it at all. It's awful.
Yeah, it never grew on me. The strategy wasn't awesome. The landing zone thing, I guess there was like a little bit of element, like a little bit of like an element of surprise, but it wasn't great.
Did it? I mean, they can lie and manipulate this all they want because they did it for 60 years or whatever. Like, was it safer?
I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, that's the only thing they can point to is, but well, it was way safer, so we have to keep it. It's like, no thanks. No thanks. It's football. Guys get hurt. Tough.
You think Chris Boyd's back next year? I think so.
I don't want him back.
Well, but I think he's back.
I don't believe so. I believe you could roster churn at the bottom.
Someone that can maybe play a little better at corner or something. He's a good special temer, though, man.
He's a good special teamer. I'd be happy for him to go be a good special teamer for somebody else.
He's a very good special teamer. Very solid.
With his 4 personal foul penalties a year.
Correct. All right, that's the revival edition of SNL. We are less than 2 weeks away from the NFL Combine. Very excited for that. Very excited for you to join us. Very excited to see and hear what Nick Caley has to say on Thursday. Figure out that vibe. So that's an exciting piece of content that we will be adding to the library this week. Subscribe, like, ride along, and always remember, when it comes to stepping up to the challenge for you people, one of us was willing to put it all on the line and the other one was not. But regardless of that, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together.
Eat good, sleep good, Bigga. We'll talk Texans again soon. Thanks for watching, everybody.